What up, Fightful friends and family, and welcome to another episode of Fightful Wrestling Roundtable, number 20 to be specific. Nice little milestone to hit. Guys, my name is Shakiel Mahjouri. I'm here every week over from CBSSports.com, holding it down with some of the best and brightest minds in pro wrestling, as well as Alex Lajas. How are you doing?
Wow. The disrespect, and I always say yes to you when you have nobody else for this show. Last minute, you're welcome.
Yes, of
Happy
course.
20th.
Well, much like the Bloodline, we have a contentious relationship, but there's no one else I'd rather be down in the dirt with. Emily, what's going on? How'd you get over to Raj's side of the screen? Let's get that.
I don't know what just happened. I'm popping all over the place.
Speaking of which, you know this man, the mastermind behind Wrestling Inc., now living the life alongside Denise Salcedo and Jeremy Lambert, the Taylor Swift super fan himself, Raj Giri. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for making the trip. And to Alex's point, you did it on 24 hours notice. So in my books, you're the real day one. You're the one who's got my back. And not just you, but fresh off her own SummerSlam botch, hitting the floor, doing the work, willing to get through anything to get the scoop. Emily Mae, do you want to tell everyone what happened to you this past weekend?
I had an amazing weekend. I just am very clumsy, so I did trip at one point over the weekend, but I'm all good. I came out of it unscathed so far.
Looking like $1 million. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Now, there's so much to get to, so we should jump into it. Guys, if it's your first time here, maybe you join one of these lovely people over to the Fightful Pond. Please subscribe, support all the great work that Sean Ross Sapp and company do over here. Let's get started. Raj, I feel like you are alone on the island of relevancy this week. A lot of people came out of SummerSlam not particularly thrilled, but could you tell, guys, I had a bit of a rough day this morning. I apologize if I'm taking it out on
These
you.
intros are killing me right now.
They're killers. They're killers.
A lot of people not thrilled with the outcome of Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns tribal combat at SummerSlam, particularly Jimmy Uso returning after being injured by Roman and Solo, turning on his twin brother Jey. Raj, you seemed a little bit more forgiving of this segment than most. Tell me why it is that you're sort of dipping left as a lot of people are kind of going right on the trail of, I don't like this, this is too much.
Sure. Well, I mean, to begin with, the seeds had been planted for the Jimmy turn for a while. Just a few weeks ago, they did that segment where Jimmy said, he admitted he opposed Jey being the right-hand man, to Roman Reigns. And so the seeds had been planted. And my biggest thing is we haven't even had a follow-up yet. They just did the turn. We don't know where they're going. We know where they're going with Jimmy versus Jey. We don't know how Roman's involved, things like that. And look, I'll admit, at some point we need to have Roman, feuding with guys outside the bloodline. And but I'm willing, this storyline has a big boon for WWE. I mean, the numbers year over year, we haven't seen increases like that since the Attitude Era, year over year. Attendance, they're killing it. So it's working. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt to at least give them one episode to follow up, as opposed to just judging on that one 5 minutes. But I will admit, I did think that match was way too long. I thought that did kind of turn what would have been probably a really good pay-per-view into a pretty good one. But as far as the angle goes, I'm just willing to see where it goes.
All right. Is there anyone here, if you were to guess, Alex, Emily, maybe even myself, which one of us do you think was the most passionate going out of that pay-per-view that was the wrong call?
I don't
Are we all being forgiving of this?
I don't no, I think it's one of the strongest, like Raj was talking about, one of the strongest storytelling elements right now. The Bloodline is like really hot, but I could see both sides where some people are like, hey, it needs to kind of come to an end. I know that was a discussion post of like, hey, when is the Bloodline gonna potentially disband? Paul Heyman was not happy about that question. We all saw how frustrated he mentioned that they're in like the third inning right now. If we like kept it to kind of baseball terms, they're in the third inning right now. So
that is an exhausting comment, by the way. Like, I've been a big fan of this storyline, but what do you mean? You're telling me we're not halfway through? You're telling me we're a third of it?
That would mean 9 years, right? I'm not a big baseball guy,
yeah.
but
I mean, I feel like we have been waiting on this turn. We obviously saw it happen. I think it could. I feel like the match could have been a little bit shorter. To Raj's point, it could have been a little bit more concise and still had that moment at the end, right? But I think it's causing a little like frustration with fans right now of like, what is like, when is that one-on-one going to happen? You know, because there are a few more, premium live events coming up, but like, how do they build it week after week?
Alex?
So I agree with everyone, and I'm in between, where the Bloodline story is definitely the most successful storyline happening, one of the most successful storylines happening right now in wrestling, but also possibly in the last 10 years of professional wrestling. I think when we talk about the Bloodline, I definitely agree the match went on a little too long, SummerSlam. But it seems like now sometimes when we talk about the Bloodline, we don't leave out Cody Rhodes. And I see that a lot of people online are saying that he should have won, he shouldn't have won at WrestleMania, blah, 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 this and that. To me, I'm still enjoying the Bloodline story, and I see it in a very, it's a soap opera. It's a telenovela, and I grew up watching telenovelas, so I'm tuning in on it. And the way that I've processed the Bloodline story is I look at it like the last season of Stranger Things, where if you remember, Vecna was, connected to every kid that was being possessed, and it didn't take until you cut off those ties so that you can defeat Vecna. And that's the same thing in my eyes with Roman Reigns, because essentially the Bloodline is a cult, right? It was. And the only person... Well, rather, it's a cult, and so I feel like you need to break down the connections, and there's still, yes, a lineage there, bloodline lineage there. So for me, I feel like you need to cut the connections in terms of Jimmy and Solo. Jay is still there. I wish there would have been something more to Jay's story leading into it, more so in the sense of like, I wish Jimmy didn't do what he did, but I don't know. I do give it a benefit of the doubt. I want to see where it goes. I feel like everything just needs to fall into place where all three of them turn on Roman, and then essentially that's where we're going to see the cracks. We're already starting to see the cracks, and it's kind of forming, but then it's not. So all three of them just need to band together, but I also think that is a slow burn to come by. But essentially, I think everyone does agree Cody is the guy, and he's possibly the guy to take the title off of Roman. But now it's like, how do we get to the finishing the story for Cody, but also finishing the story with the Bloodline? Because it has been going on for years now, but it's also one of the best stories that's going on for years.
And Alex, to your point, if you remember to the build up to this year's WrestleMania, Cody was saying that eventually the Bloodline's not going to be together. Roman's going to be all alone. And so I think, by the time we get to the next WrestleMania, that's going to be true. And I think that'll probably be part of the story, that Roman's lost everything, and, Cody coming after his title. And you don't want to do Cody right now, obviously, but they're planting the seeds. They had Cody saying, Brock acknowledged me. They showed the sign in the crowd while Cody was talking. So it's definitely heading there. You can argue if Cody losing was the right move or not. I, at the time, thought it was the wrong move. But the more I thought about it, I was like, it does give Cody more of a chance to build himself. There would have been a risk of fans turning on him, feeling like he got stuff too early. So yeah, I think that they've already done Jay. I don't think they're going to do Roman and Jimmy, so you basically got Solo left. So I think we are kind of getting towards a finish line as far as the infighting with the Bloodline. So, I'm willing to see it through, and then I'm sure at the Royal Rumble, it's going to be full speed ahead with Cody and Roman.
Yeah, I even wrote in my review for CBS Sports that, like, is this what made the most sense to me? No. Has this storyline deserved the benefit of the doubt? Absolutely. So I'm willing to see where this goes. Do any of you guys have siblings?
I do.
Unfortunately.
Yes, only child syndrome right here. I do find, it's pro wrestling. There's a degree to which you have to suspend your belief, but I do find the turn a little hard to swallow. Like, I can kind of get by the idea. Obviously, siblings fight, but putting your own cousin in the hospital is already a bit of a stretch to me. And then now for your twin brother of all people, very, to Alex's point, soap opera-like. I worry it might sort of veer a little too much into that sort of cartoonish drama.
I think you actually have the ability to not, like, Alex. Yeah, it is kind of soap opera-y right now. I don't know. We're gonna make it a word there, but I think they have the opportunity to make it very authentic and emotional too, and I think that's what we have to, like, potentially look forward to. It's because sibling rivalries, like, and cousins and all of that, like, that connection is obviously stronger than someone that's not within your group. And I think that's why the Bloodline has resonated with so many fans. Mm-hmm. So I think the potential of, like, the emotional elevation of the storyline is totally there. And, I'm totally in it. I want to see what happens. So if they play it right, I think, to Alex's point, I think you're right, where they have to separate everyone from the main chief there, right? So you have to separate everyone from the main pack, and that's when you divide and conquer, and that might be when, to Alex's point, Cody might sweep in and obviously take advantage of that.
And have you seen Godfather 2 or Succession? The stuff that those families do are way worse.
Exactly.
Yes, that stuff, like, you might find someone in a trunk, It
definitely seems like that's the road that, like, the Bloodline is going to. And if we, like, look back, some of the best, juicier feuds have been through siblings, right? Like Owen Hart, Bret Hart, they've had tremendous matches with each other because they know each other better than anybody else in the ring. Yeah. So I'm excited to see Jay versus Jimmy, possibly at Payback, which is a perfect pay-per-view for that feud to take down, that match to be down. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like this would be good. They're not the only twins that have battled. We've gotten the Bella twins, and they survived. So I think the Usos will survive as well.
It is hard to do a family versus family feud. Brett versus Owen obviously comes to mind. Dominic and Ray, I thought, did a great job. But there's been a lot more misses than hits. I think AEW did a great job with Cody and Dustin. But outside of that, it's really hard to do, but I feel like they've been pulling it off. So again, that benefit of the doubt.
All right, well, guys, this dovetails very nicely into topic 2. There's been a lot of storyline developments across pro wrestling over the last 7 days, right? We had, of course, Jimmy Uso returning and turning on Jey Uso. Ricky Starks just beat the living crap out of poor Ricky Steamboat with that belt. Did not expect to see that. Did Ricky take that kind of assault there at his age? Although he's looking great head of hair. Honestly, I was looking in the back of his head, and I worry I'm going to go bald before he does. But that's a conversation for another time. What I would like from each of you, as Emily keeps trying to become Raj over here,
I know, steal my spot.
Yes.
I'm not pushing you out of the way, I swear.
Next, she's going to come for Alex, and she's going to zigzag her way up to host position here very quickly. What I would like from each of you is your favorite booking decision in the last 7 days. So anything from basically Wednesday's Dynamite to last night's Raw is kind of up for grabs.
best booking decision, did you say?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yep,
You broke
that's
up
good.
there for a second.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna say Io Sky cashing in and winning the women's championship.
Yeah.
I think it's the best because that's probably what Damage Control needs as a little bit of a push. They were not getting a lot of wins, and Io got the Money in the Bank. And so for me, I guess this is more so bias because of my Joshi love of it all, but Io Sky has been a tremendous talent for so many years, and I love that she's finally really getting her flowers, as the kids say. And even big shout out to Michael Cole for making the call of from the world of Stardom to the top of WWE, because Io Sky was so dominant in Stardom. She has won every single belt. You know, she's won the World of Stardom Championship, which is the highest title, and she's a Grand Slam winner in Stardom as well. And I believe she's almost a Grand Slam winner in WWE. She just needs the heavyweight championship. So I hope that this does lead to more good for Io Sky and even better for Damage Control. Hopefully Dakota Kai does come back sometime soon. But I am excited to see where it goes. And I know that they've slightly been teasing Damage Control maybe breaking up. I really don't see it anytime soon, especially without Dakota in the picture as well. But I think that's the best booking decision. I think overall everyone was very excited, and it seems like the fans were really behind on it. And I didn't see anyone complaining on Twitter, which who would have
Very
thought?
rare. Very rare.
So rare.
So rare.
But I think that's the best decision for me.
Yeah.
Well, and I like it because, sorry to interrupt you, Emily,
No, go
because
ahead.
it also kind of serves the dual purpose of this sort of new bitter Bianca Belair's descent into a heel turn, right? At first, it was sort of getting leapfrogged by Charlotte Flair, and then when she finally gets the opportunity she's been seeking that she is entitled to, here comes Io Sky to give her not just one of the longest reigns as a champion in WWE history, but now one of the shortest as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emily.
I mean, Alex, I was going to pick the same moment, but I was going to take a little different take on it, because I think there was that heartwarming reunion of Damage Control at the end of Io's cash in and win, and I think that moment I think was important to have, because I think her win wouldn't have been as, I think, meaningful if she didn't have that group kind of back together. It's obviously been a really tough road for them this past year. So for them to have that reunion, I think was really important. And then also to the point about Bianca, I think that match in itself, I think there was kind of questions going into SummerSlam if like Asuka, Bianca, Charlotte, if that was the right, like, kind of right booking decision. And I think once we saw that match happen, I think we all were in it. We all enjoyed it. And I think everyone stadium as we were watching obviously was super excited for Bianca, but the fact that it happened, but I think we were waiting for that cash in, right? I think there was obviously lots of discussion that it was most likely going to happen. So I think that whole sequence of events that happened, I think worked really, really well, and it was really smart for them to happen on a big platform like SummerSlam. Happened.
I
took my spot again.
Look.
I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. We're having like elves. We're having technical elves mess with the broadcast here.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I love that.
I came out of that cash in thinking, wow, they really took their time with the women's Money in the Bank briefcase this year. A whole 30 days approximately before the cash in. I mean, that might be the longest reign I've ever seen for a Money in the Bank winner.
Well, there was Carmella. Okay,
Let me do my thing. Let me look.
So I actually have
Emily,
three,
next time
but-
please jump up instead of sideways to Raj.
I would definitely turn into actually kind of person. Sorry.
Raj?
So I've got three, but I'll be real quick. I agree with the
Three?
Io. I thought Io was
coming in hot.
Io. I thought it was great, and it also it opens up a ton of stuff with that win. You have Charlotte, who was about to win the match and got got the mist. You have Asuka, who didn't lose to Io, and then you got Bianca, obviously, who lost while injured. So opens up a ton of possibilities. A great pop. The fans really felt, were really into it. So I thought that was easily one of the highlights of the night, if not the highlight of the night. I also thought the way the Cody Brock match was booked, I thought it made Cody a bigger star coming out of that. Like, I feel like he was already at a top level, but felt even more. And Brock, this wasn't a booking decision, but Brock, congratulating him after, just took it to the next level, which I thought was great. And then I'd also say Adam Cole and MJF with what they did, with how they announced the match without breaking them up. I think everyone, when they started the feud, thought that they would have split by now. And then,
I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was meant to be a short-term storyline, but kudos to them for seeing what they had here.
Booking wise, going with what's working and not ending it yet. So I thought that was great, going on the fly, keeping them both baby faces as much as they are, and going with what's hot, not ending it too soon, keeping it going, kind of leaving some storyline possibilities open with Adam Cole signing that contract without reading it. There's different things you could do there, but I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. I actually echo your sentiment there, Raj. And very quickly, guys, because I forgot to mention, if you'd like to get engaged in the conversation, please go ahead, leave a super chat. $1, 1,000. I got my preference, but it's all good. We'll make sure to read those throughout the show. I was also going to give the nod to Brock Lesnar. I had a brief conversation with a colleague of mine over at CBS Sports where, I'm over here sort of being the Debbie Downer going, well, it should have been Sammy that beat, it should have been Drew that beat Roman. It should have been Sammy that beat Roman. It should have been Cody. It should have been Jey Uso. And I think where there's sort of a divide between people is some will say, well, each of these guys became a bigger star and had a big moment, despite the loss. I'm not sure I'm quite entirely on the same page. I do think the answer, like most things in life, is somewhere between the black and the white, somewhere in the gray zone. But I do think Sammy and Kevin, probably out of the three of them, or the four of them to this point, has gotten the biggest moment, headlining night one of WrestleMania, winning it. And it looked like they were going to sort of be a anchor of Raw for a little while, but I feel like they have kind of taken a half step back as a focal point of that show, even to the point where their tag team title match against Pretty Deadly wasn't at Money in the Bank. It was the night before. With Cody, the thing that I've been struggling with is, especially in the aftermath of SummerSlam, it feels like we're heading towards Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania 40. It's hard for me to be invested in anything he does from now until then, knowing that it is almost like a placeholder, right? Like, all these storylines are almost like detours to get him back to that point. Brock Lesnar acknowledging him at the end of that match, shaking his hand, hugging him, holding him. It was the first time since WrestleMania that I felt like, whoa, Cody's actually taken a step forward. He's taken a step up. This isn't just a sidestep for him. Unlike the sidestep that Emily keeps taking. Listen,
they really want me to be Emily.
We love bitch.
I don't know what's going on. This is my shtick that I do on every show. I just am like keeping everyone on their toes. So I was going to say that moment with Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes at the end, like that moment, I think resonated with a lot of people. I think it was a big step up. It shows that mutual respect they have for each other. And, and I don't think that trilogy is over, but I feel like that was kind of, and I don't know, obviously, if a moment that was, sometimes you're in the moment after a match and you have kind of that emotional connection. So I don't know if it was, quote, a booking decision, but I think it was a moment that added something to the fans, for the fans' like reaction. And I think it resonated with a lot of people. So I think it kind of made them feel like they're on the same level a little bit.
Yeah,
for the first time.
It was a good stepping stone for Cody. Like, I think everyone agrees he's the company guy, and everyone wants him to be on top. And I think that he is a clear answer to dethrone Roman. And so for me, that moment with Brock Lesnar, I was like gooped and gagged. I was like, what is Brock Lesnar doing? Go fix your pants before you do this, sir. Because I felt that his pants were split, but that's okay.
A wardrobe
It happens.
malfunction, you know.
It's show business, baby. But
The show goes on.
Yeah, exactly. But I really loved that moment. Like, that was a huge highlight for Cody moving forward. And even like I felt like there was a different like aura with Cody last night on Monday Night Raw. And yeah, I'm excited for Cody's future in the company. I just hope that Brock Lesnar got his pants fixed.
Yeah. Now, probably by the time Emily gets her internet sorted out.
You're sassy today.
I know. I'm so sorry, guys.
And to your point, Shaq, with us knowing that Roman's not losing until WrestleMania, but you still have a lot of strong storylines going on, and that's one thing I feel like WWE has gotten a lot better at. You got the stuff with Seth, with Nakamura that they just started. You've got whatever they do next with Cody. You got the Judgment Day and that split that's bound to happen with Damian Priest and Finn Balor, and then the Bloodline. Even though Roman's not losing, is still entertaining TV.
Oh,
so even though you don't know that that Roman's not losing anytime soon, it's still going to be a fun stretch between now and WrestleMania season.
Now, guys, I do want to finish up on some AEW All In talk, but I just want to very quickly get the second half of this. We discussed what our favorite booking moments were, and I do just want to give a supplemental shout out. I don't think anyone suspects Shinsuke Nakamura is going to beat Seth Rollins, but to take someone who's kind of been like just treading water, that was about as good of a job, I think, as they could have done, placing him into a main event. 2 wins on the same night, plus a turn in the main event. I feel like that was, which has kind of been teased for a few weeks. I think they kind of made the best out of that situation that they could. I do also want to give a shout out to them, to AEW, for continuing to sort of push forward with this Brian Cage, Big Bill team. There's something nice here. I hope they commit to it and they stick to it for a while. I do want to very quickly get everyone's thoughts on one of the poor booking decisions they think has happened over the last 7 days. I'll start on this one. I really, truly believe, there were reports that there was going to be sort of a big and unexpected loss handed out at SummerSlam. I was really hoping that Finn Balor was going to go over Seth Rollins. And there's kind of 2 primary reasons there why I felt like that's the direction we should have gone. One, the Judgment Day for so long felt like a stable that a lot of fans did not want around. But they're as hot as they've ever been right now, and I don't really know that I need to see 2 factions going through tension and splits on 2 separate brands. Like, it feels too close to what we're seeing with the Bloodline. Plus, I understand and I appreciate that they may want to establish Seth Rollins as a champion with a very worthy reign, but it's already kind of a lot of fans kind of have the impression that this world title is a secondary belt because Roman Reigns is so inactive as champion. Why not go the opposite direction? If we have a champion that we know isn't losing the title between now and April, why not have the world title be a little bit more competitive? Why not use this as an opportunity to sort of separate it? Like, it feels like we're trending too much in a direction where the Raw's world title scene is almost like a poor man's version of SmackDown's world title scene. And I think this could have been a big moment for Finn, a big moment for the Judgment Day, and a chance to have the Raw World Heavyweight Championship be a little bit more chaotic and exciting and something where you don't always know what the outcome is going to be. So I do think that was a missed opportunity, and I'll open the floor for whoever has their kind of biggest booking blunder for the week.
So, I could see your point, and that was, I was, when I was going in, I thought Seth should win just because I do think it's only been 4 months since Seth won the title. This is the first champion of this version of the world title. So you want to establish it a bit. Whenever you ping pong the titles around, I feel like it means less and less. And Seth is hot right now, but at the same time, so is Finn. So I could have seen the case either way, but I do think it's probably a little more important to establish it right off the bat, and then you could change it down the road. I don't think he needs to hold it as long as Roman or anything, but you see, anytime you have these longer title reigns, the person that beats it gets more out of it. And so I like that they kept it. My biggest booking blunder, I think, would have been that stipulation that they had for Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. I felt like it really limited them to what they could do. It wasn't MMA rules. There were no rounds. There were no judges right off the bat. And I just
it
think
was like a doctor
Rousey,
stoppage, and they kept the fight going.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I just felt like Ronda Rousey, she did so much for the women's division that she deserves something bigger to go out on. And I hated seeing her going out like that with just, this bad stip. The crowd wasn't into it. And I just feel like she should have deserved a bigger moment. And it's not saying she won't come back. Who knows if she will or she won't. But if she's gone for now, I would like to have seen a better booked, probably no gimmick, or if you're going to do a fight pit, but something better for her final match.
All right, Emily?
So both of those, I was going to pick both of those that you brought up. The Ronda versus Shayna match, the MMA rules match, it definitely did not translate to the arena. When we were there in person, the fans were not happy. I think they had this amazing build. They obviously were friends. They, turned tag team champs, and then now obviously are facing each other. So it had such an amazing build. And then I felt like it kind of fell flat. An MMA match could be really cool, but I feel like it was just too much on the mat. Like, we've seen it so many times before. And it just didn't translate. And I think for a lot of people watching, I think at home too, it didn't really have the energy that it needed, especially on a SummerSlam card. I think also to the point of Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins, I agree that I wanted Finn Balor to win because everyone in the Judgment Day has something to prove, right? Has something, is holding something that other people want. And Finn Balor needed this win, but I get that to Raj's point, it is a little. Oh, now I'm Raj.
We should just stay this
Raj,
way.
go ahead with your
Because you mentioned him.
It's because I mentioned you. Yeah, so I think it is a little too soon to kind of switch over those championships. But I really wanted to see Finn, because Finn is in this new era. We're going to stay Raj for a bit. Because Finn is in this new era that we're seeing him. He has this whole new energy, this whole new chapter of what he's doing with the Judgment Day, and he's leading this whole allegiance. And they are, again, I think they might have some trouble down the line. I'm not quite ready for that because I love them so much, but I really wanted it. So I don't know if it's quite a bad booking decision. I don't know if I would categorize it as that, but I think it's one that I wanted to see.
Okay. We'll move you back here now that you're pointing.
Oh my! Oh, now are you doing this on purpose?
No. I don't know what's happening. I think your internet's disconnecting for a brief second, and I think when it's a 3-person shot, it naturally pushes Raj over there. Oh. So then when you hop back, and I don't know what's going on, but we love bits here, Emily. Your energy is perfect. The bit is hilarious. So thank you for both your intentional and unintentional contributions to this show. We do.
I try. I try.
Alex, take us home on the booking blunder for the week.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to agree with the MMA rules because that was such a good build-up for both Ronda, because I finally saw that little peaks of Ronda of okay, she's getting better on the mic for sure. I feel like they give her too many words, and so she talks so fast, so sometimes she can't get a lot of words out during her promos. But with Shayna, I love the turn in Money in the Bank, and I love the promos and the vignettes that they were doing. So leading into that match with the MMA rules, it just wasn't it. There should have been something different. I feel, watching it from home, because Emily mentioned it was kind of the crowd wasn't feeling it live, but watching it at home, I felt like it should have been a better presentation. Maybe like putting down the lights when they usually do that when they're doing the call for championship in the beginning of a match. I don't know, changing the ropes like it's Brawl for All or something. Like there should have been a little bit more in terms of a production presentation for that match rather
like ceremonial, right?
Yes,
like ceremonial.
yeah,
Take
yeah.
the ropes off or do something. Yeah,
Exactly. Take the ropes off, and also they have that collaboration with Endeavor and UFC. Like there should have been a little bit of a cross
Your
over
Bruce
with
Buffer
that.
in there to do the
Maybe,
intro.
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, that would have been great. He's
Herb
great.
Dean as the ref.
Yeah, I love Herb Dean too. So
Yeah.
that should have been it. There should have been some kind of mix, right? So for me, it was kind of not great. But I will say this might be a little bit of a nitpick, but they should have given Rhea Ripley a match at SummerSlam. And I know that that's across the board, the general consensus, but it's like she's so hot right now. She's so good. And everything that you guys were saying about like Seth and Finn with championship, and I just feel that she needs more defenses as well. She's great. She's amazing on camera. She's amazing in the ring. She's amazing with the Judgment Day. But for me, it's good to see her get mixed in with some of the men's feuds. And watching Monday Night Raw last night, it was good to see Raquel come out and attack her. And then we had Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. But that's also like, geez, there's so many women on that roster where she can be having so many defenses and maybe like getting a streak up for her or something. But that's, I don't think that's more so from the weekend. I think that's just like overall entirety. But
you want to
yeah,
talk
and I know
about
Alex.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's been a big conversation, Alex. Like, where was Rhea Ripley? Like, why wasn't she on? Why didn't she have a match like this? And I think that's going to be an ongoing discussion for sure. You could fight.
Mic drop.
Speaking of ongoing discussion.
That was a mic drop.
I'm done.
Speaking of crossover stars, I don't really know too much about this world, so I'm not going to get into it. But I don't think there's another WWE superstar I hear as much about from a few people I know in the world of TikTok who has like this. Are you guys aware that she has like this entire secondary following of non-pro wrestling fans who I guess dig the aesthetic?
So I will say I do, because my hairstylist does not watch wrestling at all, but she's on TikTok and she is like feral for Rhea Ripley. And every time I go to get my haircut, she just always talks about her. And again, like, she never grew up as a wrestling fan. She doesn't know anything about wrestling. And so she just always talks to me about Rhea Ripley. And now she's actually tuning in on Monday Night Raw to watch her. And she DM'd me. Yeah, she's mommy. And she DM'd me and she was like, why is she going to be at SummerSlam? And I was like, I don't have the heart to tell you no. I don't think that she is. But she has a huge following on TikTok because of that. The fact that my hairstylist knows who she is. So, yeah, I would agree.
All right. Now, guys, before we head over to the final topic of the day, I didn't actually prepare this as well as I should have. So, Alex, why don't you keep telling me about Rhea Ripley? No, actually, it's good. I got to figure it out. Now, before we get to our final topic, a little dive into AEW All In. If you need to protect your online security and your connection is a tad bit more stable than Emily's, SRS has the scoop on NordVPN.
NordVPN.com/Fightful. Block online trackers, annoying pop-up ads. Unlock geo-blocked content. Maybe you missed the WWE Network. Maybe you want that AEW Plus. Maybe you want to subscribe to overseas services so you can get UFC pay-per-views at a reduced rate. Well, NordVPN.com/Fightful allows you to do that, and you can do it with 4 months for free with that link. Not only that, you get your 30-day money-back guarantee as well, just in case you don't like it for any reason. It works on all of your devices, so you can do this stuff wherever you are. Maybe you're on that unsecured Wi-Fi at the airport, the hotel. Yeah, it can be dangerous. Your info is at risk. but you can still gain access to all that stuff. Check out all of your favorite shows, or maybe shows you haven't discovered before, with nordvpn.com/Fightful, now with multiple tiers, so you can get whatever services that you want. nordvpn.com/Fightful.
Look at that, helping SRS make a quick buck. Shout out to NordVPN for supporting the show. Guys, one topic left. We are less than a month away from AEW All In, on track to be a record-setting crowd. I'm sure WWE is not thrilled about that. And at a really important time, I think, for AEW, where I think they found their footing and they're sort of finding consistency again with the debut of Collision and how well that show has been received. But, you know, there was the high, and naturally, as it was always going to happen, there was a bit of a fall. So it's nice to see them finding footing, and I feel like this is a great chance for them to sort of reinsert themselves as a reminder that this product is a genuine, viable alternative to WWE. I am curious. There was a lot of sort of frustration with the lack of matches announced about a month out from a record-setting show. We're starting to get there. So in the aftermath of Adam Cole versus MJF being officially announced, the seeds being planted for FTR versus Young Bucks 3, a CM Punk Samoa Joe rematch looks like it's on the way. 3 weeks out from AEW All In, I guess more like 20 days. Yeah, right. How are we all feeling about it? Are we all in on All In? Alex?
Yeah, I'm all in, because this is the first time that the UK crowd is going to get an AEW show. For me, in a fan perspective, I am excited to see the crowd reaction for the individuals on the roster. And I mean, we all know the chants are just going to go buck wild and it's going to be great. So for me, I'm in that point, I am excited. I do wish that there was a little bit more of match announcements, because there could be a little bit more building up, especially like you said, it's a record setting event, and we could play around a little bit more in terms of building it each week. And but isn't this what they usually do? Like, kind of booking matches kind of last minute, not really so much last minute, but
I guess here's my problem. I don't think this was the booking ethos of Tony Khan when AEW first launched. Like, you know, once Hangman Page was crowned champion, he came out and said this was the plan from the beginning. This order of world champions was planned, and you kind of blows your mind, like, wow, so much foresight and thought went into executing this plan over a number of years. And it just kind of feels like since then, partly due to injuries, but partly due to their own volition, it feels like everything's kind of being put together on a week-by-week basis. And I think they're starting to work their way out of that. But yeah, I guess it's kind of grown to be synonymous with AEW, but I don't know that, at least as a consumer, that's what I want to think about when I think of AEW.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
I didn't mean to cut you off, Alex.
how dare.
No. Gosh, why do you have to cut off Alex? That's so nice.
I'm trying to give you a break, Emily. I've been harassing
Yeah, I
you.
know. Gosh, you're like really on me today. So in regards to All In, I think this has been kind of what we've seen this pattern before leading into big pay-per-views, is that it's a slow build. We're like not necessarily sure of the matches that will happen because things can change so quickly. I think what's exciting about this is like European fans are going to be able to see AEW. They're already breaking records. We've seen it. And I think we should just be excited for that there's this alternative that we could potentially see. You know, I feel like they're finally finding their groove. Like you said, they're kind of finding their pattern of what works. I think they have two big shows every week that they can push storylines, they can push the matches. And so I think we're going to see in the next 2 weeks, obviously we're going to see a lot of changes and shifts in that. And I think the matches they have announced so far, I think are really good, exciting. I think we're going to hear a little bit more, in the next week or so, but I don't know. I'm excited to at least see what they do, at All In. because I think they've been, this is it's a big risk for them, I think, because it might not, who knows what the reaction will be.
Raj?
I think from a spectacle point of view, it's going to be fantastic, and that alone is going to be so cool to watch. 80,000 UK fans just going nuts.
Amazing.
I mean, the stuff they
the in-ring action will deliver.
Well, it'll
Oh,
do,
yeah.
but
Absolutely.
my so you got to think that this was not the original plan, was to have two pay-per-views, a week apart. I've got to think, as soon as All In was announced, and they were talking about it being like a celebration of also WBD and like 100 years of WBD, I was like, okay, they're going to stream this thing on Max, or at the very least, it's going to be on TBS, TNT, and then build to All Out. And that didn't happen. So you've got two pay-per-views coming up in a month that are a week apart. So, that aspect is weird. And the only other thing is I was kind of hoping for a dream match. And I think this lineup is super solid. It's going to be awesome. But, you have that opportunity. It's, who knows when they'll get that again. I'm just kind of hoping for something that, CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, we've already seen that on Collision. Bucks and FTR is the third one. It'll probably be tag team match of the year, but still, it is something you have seen. MJF and Adam Cole is new. I don't know if I call it a dream match, but it is the best storyline that I've had in a long time. So from that standpoint, who knows? Maybe it'll still happen, but I think it's going to be a fantastic show, and easily should be one of the best pay-per-views of the year.
Yeah, I think the Adam Cole MJF feud exceeding expectations the way it has is a real saving grace for All In terms of possibly even pay-per-view buys, but in terms of making the event feel like more than a house show cranked to 10,000. Like, there are both championship and emotional stakes in that fight. Like, I'm not entirely convinced anymore that MJF is going to walk away with the title. Who knows? Like, there's actually a lot of directions you can go with a feud like this. And I think if over the next week or two we can get one or two matches that are built to beyond the context of, hey, I want a rematch, or hey, I want another match. If we can find a couple more feuds to insert into this that have emotional stakes beyond a title or beyond just a competitive match, I think we're headed in the right place. And I do think there are options like Kenny Omega, Konosuke Takeshita match. I think that's something you could pull in really easily that has meaning to it beyond just the spirit of competition. There are rumors that we're going to get Will Ospreay there. I guess that'll kind of be dream match-ish, maybe not quite to the scale that Raj is hoping for, but at least there's going to be sort of a sideshow spectacle kind of situation there, maybe.
If it was Ospreay versus Omega 3, I think that would be something spectacular. Ospreay versus Jericho, I don't know, something about it doesn't get me excited.
Not good.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the MJF Adam Cole feud, I think obviously MJF is like the best on the mic. I think we're going to see some build of some more media packages, maybe some more, obviously MJF on the mic, I think that is delivering already. And that's just going to continue. And so I think we need that, like you said, we need that extra emotional investment in these matches in order for us to like be won over later,
I'm hoping that within this week or next week, there's a bit more of a build for the women's scene going into All In. I think with Hikaru Shida being the AEW Women's Champion now is a fantastic opportunity to redeem herself, or more so on the booking side, because she really did carry the pandemic when it came to AEW. And so going off of what Raj is saying, I think there's a possibility to do a dream match with her. And I think it would be a good decision to do that for the women's division. I mean, they've been getting a lot of criticism for the way that they are booking the women's division. So if we were going to have a dream match, I think that's the perfect opportunity to do it with Hikaru Shida or possibly Chris Statlander as well. because Chris Statlander is doing a really amazing job. She's showing a lot of representation when she's doing sign language on when she's coming out in the ring. So again, those are two really great champions that you have right now that you should be utilizing 1000% and beyond. And that's two really good champions to have those potential dream matches to lead into All In or All Out.
I was about to try and do some ASL here until I realized I don't know how, and I was worried I might. I've been watching a lot of videos where like dudes roll up on gangsters and whip out fake gang signs and then have to run for their lives. I don't know why. There's something obscenely addictive about those videos. Also, since we brought up Rhea Ripley, there are still people in our comment sections in the live chat having conversations about Rhea's aesthetic. So,
mommy.
Yeah. No, Alex, to your, I'm Raj again. To your point, Alex, I think you're right. They need to utilize their champion, their like women champions a little bit better.
Make you feel better.
Are we switching everyone?
Welcome to the Fightful Roundtable.
Is that what I sound like?
And I think needed to leave a mess.
But yeah, I think they do need to build up the women's matches in the women's division a little bit better leading into All In, and we have All Out, obviously, a few months from now. So I think, it just needs to be done. There's a lot more conversation across the board that needs to happen. But I think we're missing that big puzzle for this upcoming one.
And I want to see where they're going. I almost wish they would have saved Hikaru Shida's win for All In, because I think that would have been awesome in that stadium. I hope they don't do Hikaru Shida versus Saraya, just because I think Saraya, because I almost think then Shida would probably get booed there. I'd like to see her get a big win with a big ovation at that show. Maybe someone like Britt Baker, but I agree. I'd like to see something big there.
All right. Well, on our way out here, let's go to a super chat. I appreciate this as much as I, Alex Lajas, appreciate Church of Joshi and anything that has to do with women's wrestling and only women's wrestling. Servrendo92, what do you guys make of all these recent injuries? I was thinking about this over the course of this conversation. Like, is there a title in pro wrestling, at least in WWE, that has suffered misfortune at the hands of nothing but dumb luck, the way that the women's tag team championship had? Like, ever since Naomi and Sasha walked out, and then we had the long delay, and then it's like that belt is cursed. If you got that title, you're getting surgery, basically.
Yeah, it has bad juju, that title. It does. I don't know. Maybe it's time for the Bella Twins to come back and take charge and take the titles that are rightfully theirs.
Okay, let's give this a little bit of juice. From memory, in the last couple of years, what is the injury that has sort of had the biggest impact in pro wrestling? What just completely threw a product for a side loop or forced a scramble that didn't quite play out?
Punk last year. When
I was gonna be like,
Punk. Yeah.
Do you guys like the real world title thing with like the NXT rebranding of the belt? Like, are you here for it? Are you against it? How do you feel about it? Okay, I'll go. Fine. Whatever. I can let this go.
We're all politely waiting.
I like this is it's really funny because when AEW first started to sort of promote other champions on their show, Lance Archer beats Jon Moxley for the New Japan US title. I actually really liked it. Or when Christian Cage is walking around as Impact World Champion, I felt like it sort of elevated wrestlers that weren't in the title scene. But ever since Ring of Honor started to become integrated into the product, it feels like we have way too many world champions, especially because they didn't leave it at that. They introduced the international title. They introduced the TBS title, like the trios belt. There are so many titles in AEW that I love the premise of this real world heavyweight champion because it's very Punk-esque in nature. It can lead to a title unification bout with MJF. Like, there's a lot of juice to be squeezed out of it, but I struggle to care because there's so many world champions on that show in that organization.
I kind of have the same feeling. I hope this doesn't go too long, but it is a natural. Punk never did lose that title. Him and MJF. I just feel like since they're in separate directions right now, it just feels, I don't know, just hasn't really hit. But when they do, I mean, you got two of the best talkers in the business with Punk and MJF, so I'm sure it will. I just hope they don't go too long with it. I hope it's done by November at the latest with Full Gear.
I love just looking at Emily, waiting to see how she's going to feel about it this time. But Emily, your misery is almost over. You did it.
It's all good. I feel bad for everyone watching that it's doing that.
Listen.
It's a good bit.
Sean Ross Sapp runs a successful, beloved, but I wouldn't say. You know, this isn't HBO. We're running off StreamYard. We're doing the best that we can. I love you.
I'm never invited back. That's what's happening.
No. I'm more worried about my own standing than I am yours. Don't worry about it, Emily. In fact, we got people in the chat saying how much they like that today. Guys, this is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us on what has been the most chaotic episode in Fightful Wrestling Roundtable history. We'll be back in a few weeks to this month to make up for my absence at the end of July. You can find all my work over at Shaq MMA and Shaq Wrestling on YouTube, depending on where your interest lies. We just dropped an interview with Seth Rollins about a week ago. Please go give that some love. All the written work at cbssports.com. Alex, where can the people find your lovely face?
Oh, you can find my beautiful face over here on Twitter, X. It's Twitter to me, okay? On Twitter, you can find me there. I will be live tonight on my YouTube channel doing a Dark Side of the Ring watch-along for the season finale. It's all about Marty Jannetty, and as a huge Shawn Michaels fan, I'm terrified going into this episode, but I'm excited to watch it. So youtube.com/Queen of the Ring Wrestling if you want to go there and check me out. Also, twitch.tv/Queen of the Ring. I'm over on the Twitch lands, and if you want to know more about Church of Joshi, you can follow Church of Joshi everywhere. If you're in need of stardom, TJPW, Sendai Girls, and everything in between, come check us out.
Raj, where can everyone find you for your wrestling takes, cooking tips, investment portfolios, and of course, the unrivaled, undisputed knowledge of everything Taylor Swift?
You can follow me on X/Twitter at the Raj Giri, and I have a practical, just a personal finance Substack at practicalmoney.substack.com. The last issue, I kind of revealed my stock portfolio and just kind of how I got started investing, things like that. So it's a lot of common sense tips, just basic stuff. So check it out.
I will need that. Emily, please. We'll see if we can sneak in one more swap before the end of the show. Where can everyone find all the work you do? And for those who don't know, I've seen it firsthand at WrestleMania. Emily is a hustler. I've seen this girl work. Where can everyone find what you're doing?
Well, thank you so much for everyone for putting up with all the technology issues today. And
there we go.
That was you. I knew it. Well, you can follow me on all social platforms at Emily Mae Heller. If you want to watch an amazing women's wrestling show, this Saturday we have another Mission Pro Wrestling show on Title Match Network, and it's going to be Izzy Moreno is making her in-ring debut. I know many of us are familiar with her, so you got to go check that out. And then we'll have New Japan and the Junior Festival on August 19th, and then the Impact crossover show Multiverse United 2 August 20th. So we have a lot of that happening in the next few weeks. So follow my socials, Emily Mae Heller up there, and you'll see me all around.
Raj, to take us out here, because I did miss this earlier. Didn't this already happen? Because we're seeing people want the Raj and Sean reunion.
Last year when I first sold the site, me and Sean were going to do a reunion, and I was going to have him on, and then we had a scheduling issue, and then I got COVID, and then it just never. And then by that time, I was done with the podcast, so it just never got to happen. But I'd love to do it. I always had great times doing stuff with Sean.
Okay, this one was not me. One was not me, but I'm
One
glad we
more.
stuck a last one in. Alex, the new Raj, the new Emily, thank you guys so much. Make sure to give some love to Fightful. Subscribe. There's so much great stuff happening here every single week. We will see you back at the end of the month for another edition of Fightful Wrestling Roundtable. Enjoy All In. Enjoy all the fallout from SummerSlam, and enjoy pro wrestling, guys. It's meant to be fun. Take care.